Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The regular meeting of the Grosse-Ile Township Planning Commission would come to order. We all please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is additions and or deletions to the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Support.
Motion from Eric, support from Kurt. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda approved. Next item are the approval of minutes from July 17th. Any comments on those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Motion
Support.
from Kurt, support from Kyle. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item is public comment. Any opportunity for citizens to speak to an item not on the agenda? Nobody raising their hand, so we will move on to the first item of business, which is a site plan review for a new airport hangar. The applicant is R.J. Howie Incorporated, architect, 2363 West Jefferson, Trenton, on behalf of Charles O. Howie Jr. at 22333 Allen Road in Woodhaven. The location is a vacant half-acre parcel located immediately east of Island Athletics facility on the south side of Grow Road. The proposal is to construct a 7,600 square foot office and hangar complex at that location. The zoning is A1 Airport District. The relevant ordinances are Article 9 Airport and Light Industrial District. A hangar is a permitted use in that district, subject to Planning Commission approval. And the second article is Article 21, Site Plan Review. The process is straightforward. It's a single step, Planning Commission review and approval. The Planning Commission will vote on this tonight. Brian.
Thank you as always, Mr. Chair. One of these days, I'm going to learn that you cover half of my presentation in your introduction, and I'm going to start condensing my presentation. So,
Oh, that'll be the time that I don't do an introduction.
I apologize for the redundancy. So on your screen right now before you is a view of the site as Chairman just outlined. So it's just under a half-acre piece that the petitioner is leasing from Airport Commerce Park. It's this guy right here south of Grow. This is Grow right here. This is the service drive in here. This is the Island Athletics building, which is just a good reference point. So right in here, and it is off of sort of the internal service road here. So it's already got all of its access points are in place, no new curb cuts, no new driveways, etc. Site and surrounding properties on the south side of Grow are all zoned A1. And the proposal is specifically for a approximately 7,600 square foot building, which is comprised of an aircraft hangar and a little bit of office space. And as Chairman noted, aircraft hangars are principal permitted uses in the A1 district. As such, site plan review is the only process that is required from a planning and zoning standpoint. So here's a quick look on your screen at the site plan. So this is the lease parcel outlined here. There is a remaining potential future development piece in between Island Athletics and this proposed lease site. So please note that it's that's what this piece is right here. It is not part of this particular application. That lot line ends, or this lease area line ends right here. So here's the building, here's the office space. If you can follow my cursor, again, access straight in off of Grow. No changes there. Parking lot immediately off of that access drive. And I'll get to some of my specific comments, but I'll just call out a few things to your attention. So they have proposed for the scope of this project, they've proposed a really nice landscape plan. They exceed minimum ordinance standards. The building that they have designed, albeit it serves a purpose, it's an airport building, obviously it has a particular utility to it, but they have added a couple of nice little accent pieces and some material mixtures to the building, which I'll show you momentarily. They do have They've got sufficient parking, including a required barrier-free space along the side of the building here, which this is, again, the office portion. So this is a pretty common layout. We've seen similar items before. I think the last hangar building we saw was actually laid out quite similar to how this one is. If at any point commissioners want me to go back to the site plan screen, I certainly can. So upper left is just a look of the floor plan. So again, some office space on the east side, and then obviously the main portion of that 7,600 square feet being for the storage of the aircraft themselves. So top right of the screen, this is the north elevation. So this is where I mentioned they've actually incorporated some masonry into the front of that because it does have a little bit of visibility from grow. So they have enhanced that front facade. And they also continue that masonry along the base of the office portion. So if you look, you can see on the side view of the office portion here, front view of the office portion here, and then even the other side view. They have maintained that as underneath the window ledge. They will have a masonry base that matches that front. The rest of the building, as is pretty typical, is metal siding, metal roof. They do have some, actually I won't even get into that. Let me just jump right into my comments. So this is just an overview of my full review letter, though there's not much to either of them, quite frankly. As we mentioned, this is just under a half-acre site. They have executed a lease agreement with Airport Commerce Park for the property. The applicable A1 dimensional standards are all met. There's no changes to access to the building. As I mentioned, there's the existing road and drive network. There's no new curb cuts, no new drives are needed. The architectural standards of the ordinance are met. Again, I just showed you the view. They have incorporated some masonry to go along with the metal siding, which is a nice improvement to the building. Landscaping exceeds minimum standards, especially along grow. So with this new kind of green belt area, will actually blend in quite nicely with the existing berm that sits right here. And if I go one more screen, you can actually see there are a couple of mature trees in that existing berm. And then what they're proposing would really supplement that. So I think it'll really enhance sort of the view of this building from Grow Road, which is really what's most important in terms of aesthetics for this site and for the development. Parking, we've got 6 spaces total, which is more than enough for how this is going to be used as a private aircraft hangar. Lighting, they do have some wall-mounted fixtures. I was going to point those out. They're going to be really hard to see on screen, but there's one there. If you look above the windows, you can kind of see these little dots, one above the overhead door, 2 above the large overhead door. They are LED fixtures. They are downward directed, so they are per your ordinance spec, so there's no issues in terms of lighting. One item that I would suggest, if you do take favorable action tonight, I would suggest that final engineering be included as a condition. That's pretty standard with site plan review and the process that the township goes through. Signage, so nothing is proposed at this time, and I doubt that they will have any because it is for private use. But I did just put this comment in for the applicant's understanding. They are allowed a sign, and if they wish to pursue one in the future, there's no issues with that. You just have to make sure that you come in and get the proper permit through community development before you put any signs up. There are no applicable waterfront regulations given the location of the site within the Airport Commerce Park. And then the closing comment is that in terms of my conversation with Ms. McNee, who's the Airport Commerce Park Manager, she's been handling the FAA application on this. This is an appropriate location, it's an appropriate building design, appropriate building height. However, she is still awaiting that final approval from FAA. So similar to the site engineering, if you're going to pass this tonight, I would encourage you to include final FAA approval as another condition of your site plan approval. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Pretty straightforward, but obviously I'll take any questions that you all may have.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, Mr. Howie. Thank you, Brian. Anything you would like to add? Welcome to the Planning Commission.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, all Planning Commission members and zoning and building officials, and of course, Brian did a fantastic job summarizing everything, so I don't want to complicate things or drag it out, but yeah, it's going to be a 80 by 80 pre-engineered structure, non-combustible airport hangar, and it's going to have an administrative area which will be on the easterly side. So we try to do our best to make it, a nice looking building. It's going to be right off of Grow, obviously. So landscaping and a lot of the other things right there. That's just Skip's not going to cut any corners when it comes to that. So really, Brian summarized it. If there's anybody has any questions.
Okay, well, let's just, there's nobody else in the audience, so no public comment. So let's go around the table. Brian, start with you. Any questions or comments or concerns?
Overall, it looks like a good design, but I did have one question regarding pedestrian access. I know oftentimes, especially on the Macomb Street, we see that as, one of the stipulations specifically addressing pedestrian accessibility from buildings. And since this is an office and it's a new construction where, again, like potentially in the future might have a different use, I didn't know if it would be behooved to be at a sidewalk from the existing bike path, like to the office structure.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do, it's clearly that's not going to be like the Max Fly where we bring public into the structure and do things like that. It's going to be private, and that's one of the reasons why we put on the drawing that there would be no sign or anything, so it's just going to be private. If there needed to be access for whatnot, we do have access right off the from the east side, and there's a drive and sidewalk there.
The lease is, 20 years, 30 years? What is
I'd
the
better
lease?
ask Janelle.
It'll be a 15-year lease with a 15-year option, so basically 30 years.
Okay, so we're looking 30 years as a privately owned, privately operated facility.
Correct.
Okay. Other thoughts, Brian?
No.
Okay. Mr. Koblak?
I think it's great. I think it's great to see investment in the airport. It's a good location. I guess from the airport manager side, is there any work to be done on the access road off of Grow to service the site? Because that road is somewhat rough.
Very.
Is there any plan that's going to be coming up? Not so much to go east-west, but to head into the site?
Why don't you come on up to the podium for us?
If you,
Talking about the service road that goes into the site there between Boudry's and that.
Correct.
We have been looking into that, but at this time it's not on our budget, but we have started having conversations about that,
Yeah,
yes.
'cause it'd be great, obviously, with them updating this site and the space that's around it, to actually start working on some of the roadways. It would complement this in a great way. So, but yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's good to see investment from a resident that has lived on the island for a while. He's investing into the community, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kurt. Kyle?
Nothing at this time. I appreciate the presentation and the way that everything was laid out. I think all my questions were answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
No, certainly happy to see the investment on the airport with another hangar, which is actually needed. The question I have about the site is from an HVAC standpoint. I didn't see where HVAC for the office was going to be located.
Chances are it's going to be potentially at the north side. I think I put a note. There's a note on the drawing on the elevation if there's anything there. Because the other thing, right now we're working with DTE, for example. We're going to propose underground, but who knows how DTE is going to work that out, if we can get the proper power coming from the utility pole there. So there may be some landscape screening for that, but it would be 1,280 square foot. It'd be like a small residential furnace with a small little AC unit.
Okay, so you're not planning on doing the whole building, just the office area.
Just the office would be AC, but there would be clearly there'd be heat in
Heat
there.
for sure.
It'd be an infrared tube heater.
That's all the question.
Thanks, Eric. I'd just like to say you make the job for the Planning Commission very simple. You've thought this through well. You've presented a great plan. You meet all the ordinance requirements. In fact, you exceed them in some cases with the landscape, and that is appreciated. So I'm in full support for this.
Well, thank you. And really, it's been a great process from the township officials, because I got to tell you, sometimes I go dance in front of some of the plan commissions, and it's rough sledding, and I try to, I think what Mr. Kobliak said, try to encourage development responsible development that come forward in your community, so he makes a substantial investment in, but no, everything's been working. Brian's been good, everybody's been good, Janelle's been great too, so, thank you.
Everybody benefits. So thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion, please, regarding the application.
I would move that we approve this site plan conditional upon two items. Number one is site plan engineering review by the township engineer, as is noted in the notes, and then the second one is the FAA approval.
Motion from Eric, support from Kurt. Discussion? Hearing none? Yes, sir.
I'd like to challenge my fellow planning commissioners and township in general. Just the larger thing. This isn't specifically just about this site here, but in general, I think that as we're updating our master plan and such, we need to really move forward with increasing pedestrian activity as part of that master plan. I understand that this is a private development, and I'm not faulting this site plan over here is created, but to say that pedestrian activity doesn't count because there is it's a private use, I mean, by that logic, it wouldn't be connected to the road system. Sidewalks are transportation. They're used for a variety of reasons. Again, if this is going on for 30 years, changes could happen over time, and in general, everything should be accessible to all people of all ages and abilities.
Well, are you
Thank
making a friendly motion to change the motion? Friendly amendment to change the motion?
So, I mean, I don't know if we have anything specifically within our ordinance as far as requiring that. So I'm.
Brian?
In this part of Airport Commerce Park, there is no sidewalk requirement, Mr. Chair.
So it's more of a comment. If we don't have a requirement for it, I don't know, legally, if we would be able to do such a thing. But again, in general, I think that we should be, requiring pedestrian access to all new development.
Okay. Thank you for the comment. Any additional comments?
Just a comment on that. It sounds like we need to change our ordinances to make that something that is encouraged. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Brian. I do think it's important. I was also looking at it myself and trying to figure out, because I know you got Island Athletics there where you do have quite a bit of public traffic. Just trying to figure out exactly how it would work to make the investment. So unfortunately, I don't think we're ready tonight on this, but I appreciate you bringing it up, Brian, and I think it's something we should look at to encourage in the future.
Thank you, Kyle. Additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Go ye forth and build.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the chair's report. I'm adding one item on this. Ross, would you please update the status of the master plan and the change in the scheduling?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we had initially planned to have this master plan adopted prior to the new board taking over in November 20th, I believe. So we are going to be pushing that back a few months. I think that after our last 3.5 hour long planning commission meeting, we gave our consultants a lot of work to get done and bring back. We had to make a couple plan changes, a new direction, not entirely new direction, but there was a lot that was, that was said that we kind of are taking a different path with this. So right now, we did just have a steering committee meeting. We had 2 steering committee meetings 2 weeks ago, I believe, kind of vetting out some of the things that we're going to show before the planning commission at the next meeting. Not quite sure when that will be, but I'll be sure to keep you all in the loop on that. So when we begin when you guys approve the draft, we have that 63-day review period, and then kind of going to send that to township board. So I'm anticipating, I can't anticipate, but I'd imagine January, February is when we would see it before the township board, perhaps. So we still got a long way to go here. We're going to take our time and making sure that we have a good plan. So.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Ross about that? Okay, Brian, is there anything else in the hopper for the planning commission at this point?
We do not have anything in our hands at this point, Mr. Chair, that would need to come before the commission.
Okay, so at this point, we have no potential meeting date. Should something come in, we will pick a date and and seek who can attend to make sure we have a quorum, and we'll let you know. So that's kind of, we'll leave that as kind of open at this point.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn, support. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.